Hey guys! So since I started posting my voiceovers about a year and a half ago now, I've gotten a lot of comments from people asking how I make my voiceovers or just saying things like, wow, I wish I knew how to make these, they look like a lot of fun. And I've tried to kind of write out explanations to a few people as to the process that I go through when I make them, but it's just really hard to understand when it's written out. So I thought it might be beneficial to at least someone if I just make a quick tutorial showing the entire process of how I make my voiceovers. So if this just helps even one person, that'd be great. So the first thing that I do is when I find a scene from a show or a movie that I want to do a voiceover of, I first have to download the scene and get it into iMovie, which is what I use to edit. And I know a lot of people just find clips off of YouTube. I find that the picture quality on most YouTube videos just isn't very high quality. So I prefer to use Netflix unless I can find one on a site like YouTube that's like really HD, good quality. So I use the application QuickTime, which you can see right here, to take a screen capture of the screen. And I use a Mac, and QuickTime comes free, already downloaded on the computer, but I believe you can download it on Windows for free as well. So I can't actually show you how I take a screen recording because I'm already taking a screen recording to make this video, but I can show you how to get to that point. So when you open up QuickTime, which I already have open, you go up to the very top of the screen and you hit File in the top bar. And then it's grayed out right now because I'm already taking a new screen recording, but normally you'd hit new screen recording, and then it comes up with kind of a grayed out box for you to click and drag across the area that you want to take the recording of. So I would drag it across my Netflix screen here, and then you click Start, you play the clip, and then when you're finished, you're going to go down to a QuickTime player in the bottom bar, and you're going to hit Stop Screen Recording. And then it'll come up with an option for you to save your video file. So like I said, I use iMovie to edit my voiceovers. I know there's a lot of programs people use that are more expensive. I've tried out a few of those programs, but iMovie does what I need it to, and it works fine for me, so that's the one I use. Again, it comes free on Mac, and I think the Windows equivalent is Windows Movie Maker, which I would imagine kind of works the same way. So I load my clip once I take the screen recording of it into iMovie. I drag it down into the timeline like this. And then I always take, if you go over to this bar here, you can zoom in completely. So then I have the whole clip loaded in. So then the most important thing to do now that you're ready to start recording is pay attention to the sound waves, which you can see down here below the video clip in the audio section, because that's going to show you where to place your clips when you're going to put in your own voice recordings. So now that we're ready to start actually adding our own voices in, what I do is I scroll through the video until I find the first line that I'm going to be dubbing over. So in this case, it's right here.
What's that?
So again, I'm going to use QuickTime to record my audio. So you go up to File, you do New Audio Recording, and then when you hit this recording button, then you just speak into the microphone, which right now I'm just using the one attached to my computer. I do have like a better quality mic that's external, and I sometimes use that, but this works just as fine. It's just not as good quality, but you can use whatever microphone you have. What's that? So then now you have your finished video file here. I just exit out, I save it, and then you can go down and you can drag the file into iMovie. And then once I do that, I trim out the sides because sometimes it just picks up on some extra noise around my voice. And then this is where you need to pay attention to the sound waves in the timeline, because you want to make sure that the sound waves in your audio are matching up with the ones underneath the video file. And that's what's going to make sure that your words are matching the character's mouth that you're dubbing over. So as you can see here, I make sure that my sound waves from my recording are lining up with the ones in the actual video. And then one question that I get a lot from people is, how do you mute certain sections of the video while keeping the other character's vocals intact? So it's pretty easy to do on iMovie. You just have to find the place on the timeline in between when your character is talking and when another one is. So in this video, it's right here where my cursor is. You click there on the timeline. You go up to Modify at the very top bar, and then you click Split Clip. And that's going to split it into two different videos. So then you can take the first one, you go up to the sound option, and then if you click this button right here, it's going to mute the sound. So then if you play it back,
What's that? Someone baked you some muffins and
So then you can see my voice is substituting in for Hannah's, but then her grandmother's voice is still there because I only muted the one section of the clip. So I just follow that same process. For the rest of the lines, I just go through the video, find places where Hannah's speaking, mute that section of the video by splitting the clip into different parts, and then keeping the other parts intact. And usually I find myself redoing the lines about 2 or 3 times. It doesn't really matter. Some people just want to make sure their voices sound close enough. I'm a perfectionist, so I go line by line instead of trying to do them just all in one recording. And I do go back and redo them a lot because I like to make sure my vocals match up with the character's lips as closely as possible, but that's just me. The question that I get probably most often regarding how I make my voiceovers is how I manage to keep the background music and background noises in while removing certain characters' vocals. So I figured I'd go in and share how I do that process as well. So the first thing I do is I use a program called, I think it's pronounced Audacity. You can download it free off the internet, and it's basically just an audio editing software, and it allows you to remove the vocals. So the first thing I do is I have to find a clip on YouTube, and like I said earlier, I take most of my scene captures from Netflix, but for some reason, I guess it's just the way that Netflix mixes their sound together, this doesn't work if you take a recording from Netflix, and it doesn't work with all YouTube clips either, so you just kind of have to play around with it to see what's going to work and what's not. But once I find a clip, I download it, and then I import it into Audacity. And then you see these 2 bars come up here. And an important thing to note is if you only have this top bar, it's not going to work. You need to make sure that there are 2 different waves, because that means the vocals are mixed into one and the background sounds are mixed into the other. So if you only have 1 bar, they're all mixed into the same track and you're not going to be able to separate them. But thankfully, this one's mixed into 2 separate ones. So first thing you're going to do is make sure they're both highlighted. You're going to click this little arrow up here and you're going to click Split Stereo to Mono. And then you want to make sure that you only have the bottom track highlighted. So see, this one's blue. And then you're going to go up to the top bar, click Effect, and then Invert. And then you can see everything flips on that second bar. And then when you play it back, you can hear that the vocals have been mostly removed. Sometimes you can get a totally clean removal. That's pretty rare. Usually you can still hear them kind of garbled in the background a little bit behind all the music and the background noise. But with the characters' voices over top in your voiceover, you're not going to be able to hear that. Once you have it finished, you go to File, Export, and then Export as MP3. And then I always just save it as scene, hit OK there. And then it just takes a couple seconds to export, and then you can exit out of that. For some reason, for me, I don't know if this is just something I'm doing wrong or what, but iMovie doesn't recognize exports right from Audacity. I actually have to export it again. So I open it up with QuickTime, and then I go up to File, Export, and I export audio only. And for some reason, that's the only way it'll actually play the sound in iMovie. I'm not sure why that is. So then once you load that into iMovie, all you have to do is make sure you're lining up the audio with the video. You just add that to the timeline as well, and it plays underneath of it.
What's that? Someone.
So then, even though you have certain sections removed, you're not going to have, in scenes where there's background music or background noise, you won't have that cutting in and out to complete silence. So that's not required. I always do it because it makes my videos, I think, sound more professional, more put together and cleaner, just so it has like that fluid background music the whole way through with certain scenes, because it's playing on a separate track underneath where you've muted certain sections. And then when my videos are done, I go up to Share on iMovie, click File, and then you just go through and follow the menu options, and you save it, and then it exports, and that is how I create my voiceovers from start to finish. So I hope this video helped someone. Hopefully I explained everything well enough and in enough detail. If you have any other questions, or you'd prefer I make another video talking about anything I might have left out or any questions you still have, you can comment that below. But I hope you enjoyed.